How you doing today, Mike?
I'm good. Let's talk about, so we've covered some Ludwig stuff, we've covered some Gretsch stuff, we've covered some Japanese stuff, some English stuff, but we haven't covered, I guess, number 3 of 4, big 4 American drum companies, Rogers.
Rogers. Yes, sir.
Where would you put Rogers in the hierarchy of the current market, first of all?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of was joking about this earlier. I say this, I swear, every video. I love these shells, but we'll kind of talk about these shells. But in the hierarchy, in terms of like drums that are well made, Rogers is like up there.
Yeah.
It's very rare to get like a 60s kit from this era and have like weird stuff going on with the edges or, you know, ply separation. They're really well made. And they sound great.
So this particular kit, I'm looking inside the shell, it says holiday model made in Dayton, Ohio. Do you know this whole Rogers geography? I have a Covington era Rogers kit.
Covington would be Dayton and Cleveland. So the factory was based in Covington, Ohio, which is like kind of by Dayton area.
I was wrong. I have a Fullerton era.
Oh, Fullerton.
California.
CBS, yeah.
Yeah.
So the drums that were sold out of, I think it's Henry Grossman. He had like a warehouse or like a distribution center in Cleveland. And then there was one in Dayton, and then after that they moved to Fullerton.
Okay.
And that's where when CBS bought the company.
Now, are the shells different?
Yeah, so these shells, I'll just grab this real quick. You can see the inside. These are like the best ones, they're kind of the most desirable. They're 3-ply, flat gray interior. This one's a little dirty, I haven't cleaned the inside, but Holiday Rogers, it'll say either Dayton or Cleveland on it. But the flat gray is kind of the giveaway. Mm-hmm. The best.
It's a 3-ply shell. It looks like it's got sharper edges than you would find
do.
on a Ludwig or.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know the exact profile. I know you kind of can't see the tag, but sometimes the maker or the person who made or put together the kit will put their initials on there.
Oh, that's cool.
And if you talk to like a Rogers guru, they're like, "Oh, yeah, well, that was Bill." I was at the Covington show this week.
Bill.
Yeah, I was at the Covington show this weekend, and there was we were looking at a drum, and I was talking to my buddy Poe, who's like a big Rogers guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, CHS, that's whoever that was." I'm like, "Okay."
All right then.
Yeah.
That's a unique tribe.
Yeah. Hardware is really good on these. This is called a collet, if you didn't know it, and these can be a nightmare.
Mine are all stripped.
Yeah, they're terrible.
all busted in here. Something's happening. I don't know what's happening.
So in Cleveland and in Dayton, they would use the machine collet, which is just a fancy way of saying that they don't break. So you can tighten this one down, and sometimes these arms, they're threaded, will snap off or come off, but you know, these are really solid. The bass drum, I know you can't see it. It was modded. This would be a headliner kit, so 14 by 20, 8 by 12, 16 by 16. Would have the original swivel arm coming out here, but the owner of this kit had, which you can kind of see, I was looking at this, is a little crooked. That's because it was done after the fact. He put kind of like a center Londoner mount on there for another tom. But this kit is really cool. It's a one-owner kit. He bought it in 1969. This is the original receipt.
All right, you got to tell the horror story.
Yeah, so we were talking about this earlier. So I went to pick up these drums, and I was talking to the fella, super nice guy. And he knew I was coming to get the drums, so he had the receipt in his pocket all day. He bought this on 9/26/1969 from the Spriggs House of Music. I can't even see where it is. But anyway, his wife washed his pants.
The day before?
That day. So this receipt has survived since 9/26/1969 until 2 days ago when it went through the wash. But, yeah, so, I mean, I think, let's see here. This kit was $380, $386 back in the day.
I don't know inflation, what that would equate to now. But these were high-end pro-level drums,
oh, yeah.
right? These
yeah,
were like
and then honestly, they still, in my opinion, they still are. Rogers did a lot of things really well. Ringo had a Rogers mount on his Ringo kit.
Was it one of these or one of these?
One of those.
So what did it do? Did it come out and
yeah?
this?
Here's a sorry. Got these fancy new mics coming out of my dang pocket. Goodness gracious.
To make it easy.
I make everything hard. But this was like a smaller version. This was the Londoner mount. But this would have been a longer arm. It would have come right out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so their hardware was really reliable at the time. Really good. I think...
I don't know if I love the floor tom brackets just because you had to use a drum key to tighten and loosen them.
Yeah, they're probably my least favorite part. And sometimes the back part of it will kind of separate and it'll spin. And then you got a wonky leg kind of going back and forth. But this mount is kind of like their thing. And same thing with the Collets before they moved to California and kind of went bad.
So what would be the Fullerton era shells? I thought they were 3-ply.
They're 5.
Are they?
Yeah, 5 with rings, yeah. They're good drums too, don't get me wrong. But these are kind of like if you want a Rogers kit, you want a Cleveland kit, for sure.
Uh-huh. What was this? This was a cymbal arm mount?
Yep. So the cymbal arm, it came with one, but it was a pearl one. But this would just like an L arm come up here. These are the original stands. So this is not a flat base stand, but it has...
This one is not.
No.
That is a Ludwig.
This has like the kind of the tilter on it. So this was like a good tilter.
Was that kind of like revolutionary to have a ball mount tilter? Anybody else doing that?
I don't think so, actually. I never thought of that. But yeah, original stand. We have the Warburg and Auger thrown in the back. You can't see it in the original kick pedal. That's the original flat bass hi-hat stand.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. And that's actually a rare stand from what I understand. I'm not like big on the model names of anything, but I've never seen that stand before. This is also I know you can't see it as usual, but the stamped Rogers SS by ASCO Canada. So this would be an 18-inch crash. And yeah, it's really great hardware, I'll tell you, really reliable. Yeah, it doesn't work unless you tighten the dang wing nut. Anyway.
Well, that shell has a nick in it now. No, it doesn't.
Stamped hi-hat, stamped crash. These were made, like you said, by ASCO in Canada. And from what I understand, what I've read is that factory went on to make Sabian, and that these were made by Zildjian and were actually seconds. I don't know if that's true or not. If it is, would love anybody who worked at ASCO Canada. They sound okay.
They're better than the supers that came with Ludwigs that I have.
Oh, the Paiste, yeah.
Yeah, they're like silver nickel or something.
These are actually way better than that. They look like Zildjians too.
Yeah.
But I've never had a set of Rogers stamped cymbals. Original power tone as well.
What makes a power tone a power tone?
It's powerful, Mike.
It's got that power.
No, it's just, I think is it eight lugs, I think? Yeah, 8 lug.
8 lug chrome over brass. It's got I don't know what you would call that. It's not a bead. It's like a reverse bead shell.
Yeah.
Reverse double bead on the outside.
So they made a power tone, and then they made a Super 10, which was steel? I can't remember. Super 10 is steel, I think. But yeah, that's a chrome over brass shell. All these drums, we just did a demo, they have the original heads on them.
Which is
minus the batter head on the snare, but you can kind of see the reso head is kind of cranked and stretched out. But
Weather King A1.
A1.
Good steak sauce.
I would just let them make the joke. All the original tone controls, original hoops, like I said, original heads. This is red glass. What do they call it? Sparkling red glitter. Red sparkling glitter. It's red. It's a red sparkle.
Is this a excellent condition version of this that you've seen? I mean, how would you classify this?
Yeah, pretty nice. The gentleman's wife cleaned it up before they sold it, so we'll kind of like detail a bit more. But it is kind of a bummer that this was swapped out. The kit would be worth more if it didn't have that mod.
But as a player, that's, I think, a better spot for it.
Yeah, I mean, you figure, I can get it for a little cheaper because it had that added on there. So what we'll probably do is, you can't see that, but this just has a regular plate on here. We'll move the plate to this, and then we'll put on a regular Silvermatic mount with an arm. And then that'll kind of be original, or as close to original as you can get. But
All right then. What else we got to talk about with Rogers?
Do you have any? Well, what do you want to know? I know that you have some Rogers pieces, Mike.
I do. I feel like they're kind of not. I guess if you know, you know. It's kind of the deal, you know. And I got mine just from a local drummer in New Jersey who wanted to upgrade his kit, so he sold them to me basically for the price for him to get like a Pearl Vision series kit or something. And I toured with them. They were amazing. But I didn't have any like sweet spot for them.
I think in terms of like, say the big four, you have Rogers, you have Ludwig, Slingerland, and Gretsch. If I were to like classify them all by like quality, it would probably be definitely Rogers. Gretsch is pretty close, and then Ludwig, and then Slingerland. There's kind of some overlap in some eras or some years. Drums were better than other ones. Rogers actually got started by Joseph F. Rogers in Jersey.
You could tell me anything.
Yeah, I don't know when, but I found a couple Jersey shells.
Oh, I remember reading that. I worked in a magazine for 17 years.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hopefully your old boss isn't listening to this.
Pretty sure I edited those.
They did an eagle badge before this, which I don't really my thing is kind of ugly.
Eagle badge, never seen that.
Yeah, it says Rogers and there's an eagle on it.
Wow.
So it's called the eagle badge.
Never seen that one.
Yeah. Big old fat re-rings. I think at that time they were Jasper shells, and I think these are Keller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything about the badge you should look for? Like, did it change? Did it evolve in any significant way?
No. So it was the Joseph, like the old ones, have like a kind of square or like a rectangle badge. It's like goldish, and then they have the eagle badge, and then there's the classic. I like these, the script badge. How they kind of like use these little nails for it.
It's one of my favorites. You know what? They feel like the most modern of old drums to me.
Why is that?
Just the build quality. I feel like everything is just a little bit more contemporary by comparison. Like a '69 Ludwig, I think, doesn't look as modern.
Modern, yeah. Yeah. No, really. Like I said, I really like them. Eventually we'll get to a kit that I'm like, yeah. Not my favorite shells.
Not my favorite shells. So be on the lookout for Rogers Holiday. What was the other one? Covington? What would be the other?
Covington was where the factory was.
So the stickers will be...
So, I know this, we're going a little long, but Holiday was just, this was called a headliner kit. So
that means the setup, that means the configuration.
So one thing that's really weird about Rogers is they would have, so Ludwig will classify by size. So there's like the downbeat, which is a 2012-14. Jazzette was 18-12-14. Super Classic was 22. You can go through and like they classified it by their size. Rogers would classify by their hardware.
Oh, that's weird.
Isn't that weird? So, there's a couple of different variations that had like a swivel mount here. I think that was the Cozy Cole, and then the mount would go into the snare. So the snare
was called the Cozy Cole.
Yeah, well, that's the guy who played it.
Right.
It would go right in, the mount would go right into the snare. And then you have a mount here that would go into the tom, and then this over here. And then the Londoner had like two up here. So they would classify on the hardware, which is interesting.
That's weird.
But the Holiday, I guess, would like be the series.
Got it.
But I think...
Was there any other series? What was the Luxor?
Luxor was the 6x6, the 6 lug, which is a great snare.
So it's just a snare, the Luxor show.
That's the model. See, that's like, I don't know why they have to put that on there. Holiday model, but it's actually a headliner.
Hopefully confused everyone completely now. So they're almost all Holiday. Someone's going to correct us.
Right, but what was weird is like, so the Covington was where the factory was, but there's no Covington tag. It'll say Cleveland or date. It's really it can be confusing. It really can. But Joe Thompson kind of was like the mastermind or like the kind of wild scientist behind it. I actually had a drum come in from a friend of mine that was an 8x. It would look just like this. It was an 8x12, and it was a Dynasonic.
What?
Yeah, it was a Dynasonic.
Dynasonic is the snare drum with
the rail on the bottom.
The rail mount snare, yeah.
And so it came in, I'm like, man, that's got to be a converted tom. And it wasn't. It was original, had an original 12-inch rail on it.
That's strange.
Yeah, and it was made by Joe Thompson. So Yeah, some really interesting history behind that. I'm not a Rogers buff by any means. I don't know the serial chart offhand. There is a serial chart, by the way. That's like, oh, this is when this was made or that was made based on the serial numbers. But yeah.
Yeah, if you care, I personally just want drums that look good, sound good, and not fall apart when I play them.
I think that's what we all want, Mike.
For who made it, where it's made, not my vibe, but I know that's some people's vibe.
I don't care.
So yeah, so holiday, be on the lookout for Dayton or Cleveland.
Yep.
Holiday.
Flat gray. You want flat gray?
Flat gray
Dayton,
interiors.
Cleveland. A giveaway too is like the bow ties. This kind of style handle was made during that era. Pay attention to the collets because you'll buy a kit and it's like, oh, it's so cheap. This is great, and then the spurs, the collets will be cracked and gone.
So remind, that's happened to
You know,
mine.
so this is a machine collet. You kind of see how it's pointy right there. The ones that aren't machined, they're like kind of little bulbous and rounded. But you know, this is what you want to pay attention to as well. So,
Sweet. Well, you got to knock at the door.
all right.
That's it.